delighted to have special guests with us today, both Terry and Belinda. Thank you for joining us, for staying in Toronto a little bit, one extra day. I've been getting some very positive feedback from people who participated in the two-day seminar, both from students just entering their profession and also those folks who've been around for a while, who are saying that it was electrifying and they wouldn't have missed it for anything.
We prepared a great day for you. We really are excited about this. We're so glad to have Terry Reel and his wife here with us.
But it's my pleasure to introduce Terry Reel. He's our keynote speaker today. Mr. Reel has been described as the most innovative voice in thinking about and treating men and their relationships in the world today. Terry is a family therapist and author of the groundbreaking book, I Don't Want to Talk About It, Overcoming the Secret Legacy of Male Depression. In 2002, he founded the Relational Recovery Institute as a way to offer healing and wholeness to men through their own resources and with the support of their communities and families. Please join me in welcoming Terry Reel.
So I don't know if you need me to tell you this, but the state of marriage and long-term relationships is not fabulous. Marriage has been running at about a 40 to 50% failure rate for the last 50 years, and there are lots of theories about why that is. But here's mine. I believe that in the last 50 years, women's roles have radically changed, and so far men's roles have not. Most men mean well, want to do well, but there's a built-in conundrum, which is that across the West, women are asking for levels of emotional intimacy from men that traditional socialization of boys stamps out of them. And so one of the things I say is that the things that you learned as a boy, whether you wanted to learn them or not, the code that was imposed upon you as a boy, and what is that code? We all know that code: to be invulnerable, to be strong, to be logical, to be independent, to be unemotional. That this code of masculinity, which is stamped on boys, whether they wish it or not, virtually ensures that by today's standards they'll be seen as lousy husbands. There is simply a tension between traditional masculinity and the adult roles that we're asking men to fulfill these days. Erik Erikson said that it's the hallmark of a functioning culture that the socialization practices prepare our young people for the roles that they'll be asked to play as adults. The socialization practices do not fit the adult roles that we're being asked, and I think that's the position that men are in these days.
Well, I just want to say thank you, Terry, for just being an eye-opener for me about the way men think. Being a man, obviously, I always had that feeling, those things happening to me, but never put words to it, and you articulated it very well. And so
I think that the reason why marriage is in trouble is actually, in my frame of reference, hopeful. I think that the 20th century marriage was a companionable marriage, but nowadays it is just these quality of relationship issues that are leading to divorce and the breakup of families. So I think that women are leading the charge for a truly intimate. What we've done is we've grafted on to traditional companionship marriage the mores of a real lover relationship. We want to be lifelong lovers with each other. We want to have long walks on the beach. We want to have deep talks, heart-to-heart conversation. We want to have great sex 20, 30 years into our relationship. And we simply don't equip our boys and girls, our sons and daughters, with the relational skills that we need in order to pull this off. You know, I would like to see relationship skills taught in middle school, high school, college. One of the things I say is that most boys know more about how to drive a car than how to have a relationship. And the consequences of that ignorance is all around us.
And I've read a couple of his books, so it was good to have that background knowledge and hear what he had to say. It's well done, and he's a very humble guy.
So the title of this talk is Difficult Men and Those Who Love Them. And the first sort of bitter pill I would like us to swallow is that from the perspective of many women, most men are difficult men. And this is not just men and women. In RLT, we've moved it from being sex-specific to, we talk about the latent and the blatant. There's one that's more in the egregious position, the traditionally male position. There's another that's more in the codependent position, the traditionally female position. There's lots of role reversals. One of my mentors, Olga Silverstein, spoke about what she called the halving process, where you take a whole human being and split them in half and say all of these qualities are quote-unquote feminine and all of these qualities are quote-unquote masculine, and we're going to herd our sons and daughters into these corrals. And what Olga said, and I believe it's absolutely true, is that this process of owning half of who you are and divesting of the other half is intrinsically traumatizing. It is intrinsically injurious to divest of half of your own humanity. I am not ill because I am a mechanism. I am ill because of deep wounds to the soul. What are the deep wounds to the soul, and why are they so damaging? The deep wounds to the soul that I watched my little son Alexander live through is the force of disconnection. It is the force of disconnection. We disconnect boys from their feelings, from their wants and needs, and we disconnect boys from their mothers. We call this learning to be autonomous. And I'm here to tell you that I've been deeply influenced by the Stone Center and by the relational work. I call my institute Relational Life Institute. I call my therapy Relational Life Therapy. And this idea that in order for boys to grow up, they must, quote unquote, separate from their mothers has done enormous damage. I don't talk about separating from your mother. I talk about trading in an immature relationship for a more mature relationship. But there's no need to rupture that relationship in order to grow. Why is disconnection so damaging to the soul? Because the price of disconnection is disconnection. The price of disconnection is disconnection. And disconnection is just about the worst thing that you can do to a human being.
Yeah, I was really impressed and moved by the speaker this morning, and it just, when you hear stories like that and you hear his thoughts and the ways he's conceptualized healing, it just makes you so excited about being a therapist and being in this profession.
Quote another poet, T.S. Eliot, "Consider us, if at all, as the hollow men, the stuffed men." And what we do with boys is first hollow them of relationality, and then as a culture stuff them with a certain kind of entitlement and privilege, dominion over. In the world of boys and men, it's a predominantly hierarchical world. You're either above or below. You're either a winner or a loser. You're either in control or being controlled. And you know, people will say over and over again that men fear intimacy. I'm here to tell you, most men that I work with do not fear intimacy. They don't know what intimacy is. What they fear is subjugation. And in the world of men, if you're not on top, you're on the bottom. The way that this myth of dominion plays out in the psyche of individuals is through a force that's commonly known as grandiosity. And if you're going to work with intimacy, you have to work with both. And if you're going to work with men, you have to work with both. Now, this is a broad generalization. All of these comments are broad generalizations. I acknowledge that explicitly. There are lots of variation. But let me say this. Generally speaking, men in our culture lead from the one-up grandiose position and have covert issues of shame, whereas women in our culture tend to lead from the one-down victim position, shame position, and have covert issues of grandiosity. If you're going to work with men, you have to learn how to help them move up from shame and down from the one-up of grandiosity, entitlement, and contempt.
I think one of the things that I came away with was the importance of really focusing on some of the shifts that are happening in marriage and family therapy and the awarenesses that Terry brings to how we look at the choices that men make and their behaviors, what he talked about with grandiosity and shame, and kind of moving forward from some of the older models perhaps around femininity and things like that.
When I talk about teaching men relationality, in an RLT we teach people how to be relational. We don't ask them what they think about it, we tell them. When I talk about teaching men how to be more relational, we focus on three components: accountability, vulnerability, and empathy. Accountability, vulnerability, and empathy. So I don't pull any punches about the kind of damage that we boys and men suffer. It's not our fault. It's socially imposed, but it does do damage, and that damage is real. The damage is shame and the emptiness of disconnection. The damage is the stuffing of grandiosity and privilege. But my message, while it's, I think, unvarnished, is also hopeful. I have to tell you, 30 years working with men, I found this remarkable thing. Most men are not stupid. And if you roll up your sleeves, tell them what you see, and give them a way out, they'll take it. They'll take it. But we have to step up to the plate and offer them that straightforward, directive advice and assistance. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.
We were delighted to have Terry Real join us today. It's quite a privilege, you know, because he's a busy man. He has some wonderful concepts that he puts into place in his own life, but also encourages therapists to step up, to call it like it is, and to be encouraging and undergirding healthy, happy homes, ensuring that all partners have equality and there is a connection and a commitment to parenting in ways that will raise up this next generation of homes and families and parents. So again, delighted to have Terry join us. It's been a very important part of a very important day.
It's wonderful to be here with my colleagues, to see old faces, to meet new faces. We are all undergoing a period of transition in Ontario with the changes in legislation, and I think we can weather this storm together. We've heard from our membership about the importance of upholding high standards for the safety of members of the public, and I believe we are poised to be leaders in providing professional service in relational therapy.